Is there any truth to any of these claims?
Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for commonly held beliefs regarding our health that have either been disproven by science or don't actually have the scientific evidence to back them up.
You've probably heard that magic number is 10,000, but that might not be the right number for you.
Number 10. Best way to decrease sodium: stop adding salt. Our bodies need sodium to perform certain tasks, but the amount most bodies require is anywhere from 500 to 1,500 milligrams a day. These days, the United States Food and Drug Administration recommends you consume less than 2,300 milligrams daily, whereas most Americans take in about 3,400 milligrams.
Americans should consume about 2,300 milligrams of sodium each day. That's about a teaspoon of salt. Right now, most of us eat way more than that, 3,400 milligrams on average.
However, the fact is that most of the sodium we consume doesn't come from the salt we shake onto our plates, but rather the stuff that's on our plates to begin with, in the form of processed foods, fast foods, and ready-to-eat meals.
Most of the sodium does not come from a salt shaker. It comes from the food, the processed food people are eating, the restaurant meals they're consuming.
Taking those out of your diet will probably reduce your sodium intake much more than just putting away your salt shaker.
Less salt means less hypertension and less heart disease.
Number 9. The most important meal is breakfast. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. It's a refrain that many of us grew up hearing from our parents.
Cereal. You know I like my breakfast fried or chicken fried.
It's a healthy cereal from Europe. Muesli.
But is it true? The answer is not necessarily. If you think that eating breakfast will help you lose weight, think again. While for some it does satiate them and stave off random snacking, some studies found no correlation to skipping breakfast and overeating later in the day.
So it may not be valid to say that just because it's the first meal you've eaten in a day, that it's substantially more important to your health and success for the rest of your waking hours.
Also, there's some really good evidence to support the health benefits of intermittent fasting, which for most of us would mean extending the amount of time after waking up before consuming any food.
What we're finding is that people's metabolism improves if they stop eating for a certain amount of time and then go back to it later.
So, if you're not a hungry person in the morning, you probably don't need to force breakfast into your mouth. Number 8. Cracking your knuckles gives you arthritis. That pop you hear when you crack your knuckles is the sound of gas bubbles bursting in the synovial fluid between your joints.
Ow! Ugh, my bones are so brittle. But I always drink plenty of milk.
And while the sound might be like nails on a chalkboard to the people around you, it isn't going to give you arthritis.
There was no causal link between knuckle cracking and osteoarthritis.
Now, frequent knuckle cracking can possibly lead to a reduction in grip strength. And if you feel pain when you do it, you should obviously stop and ask your doctor about it.
If it's causing no pain to them, really I don't think that there's any harm.
However, when it comes to the question of any cause and effect correlation between knuckle cracking and arthritis, the answer is no. Number 7. Stop eating carbs. Stop eating carbohydrates. Carbs are bad. Carbs make you gain weight.
You eat carbs, for Christ's sake. God, so unfair.
For years, there's been a wide-held belief that eliminating carbs was a great way to stay healthy and lose weight. The problem with that is it makes no effort to differentiate between the two different types of carbs out there.
It's not just what you remove, but it's what you replace it with that matters.
That's right, not all carbs are created equal. There are simple carbohydrates, which are higher in sugar and come in the form of candy, baked goods, chips, and processed white bread. And there are complex carbs, which are high in fiber. We're talking beans, whole grains, fruits and veggies.
Study found people could live longer if they replaced some carbs with protein and fat from plants instead, eating more vegetables, nuts, and legumes, including beans, chickpeas, and lentils.
So, while eliminating simple carbs makes sense, complex carbs can be a very valuable part of one's diet. Number 6. Eggs are bad. In 1968, the American Heart Association recommended we eat no more than 3 eggs per week.
It saved your life. That egg sandwich could have killed you by cholesterol.
Forget it, Homer. While it has been established that eggs contain cholesterol, it has not yet been proven conclusively that they actually raise the level of serum cholesterol in the human bloodstream.
That recommendation had a pretty big impact on our perception of our little white oval friends, making us think that eggs have lots of cholesterol and raise one's risk of heart disease rather significantly. But here's the truth. Yes, eggs have cholesterol, but so do lots of foods. Eggs also have healthy omega-3s and other nutrients.
So there are a number of factors that, in effect, promote good health with eggs and
The evidence seems pretty clear these days that eggs don't cause an increased risk of heart disease. And while we don't recommend going all Cool Hand Luke and eating 50 eggs in one sitting, if you want to have 1 or 2 a day, go right ahead. Number 5, take 10,000 steps a day. Walking is one of the best things you can do for yourself and your health. What many take issue with, though, is the simple idea that if you just take 10,000 steps a day, you will be healthy.
Now, 10,000 steps is a PR campaign that started in 1964. The first handheld pedometer out of Japan was translated into, in English, 10,000 steps, totally a made-up number.
Sure, it sounds good. Everyone loves a nice round number. But the truth is, exercise isn't really a one-size-fits-all. And when it comes to steps, the ideal number varies with age.
Now, new research suggests taking just 4,000 steps a day will start to lower your risk of dying from any cause, and it doesn't stop there.
Also, it appears that time matters more than step count, as we should be getting about 150 to 300 minutes of moderate activity, think a good brisk walk, every week.
You know, getting half an hour of exercise a day is good not only for your physical health, but also your mental health.
But if a 10,000 step goal motivates you to move more, sit less, and take the stairs instead of the elevator, then there's definite value in it. Number 4, sugar makes kids hyper. Who among us hasn't seen a kid down a bag of gummy bears, eat a big ice cream cone, or finish off a sleeve of Oreos, and just go crazy with energy and hyperactivity?
There's no sugar in Pixie Sticks. Trust me. Okay. Don't hug it all, smelly head. Go to hell, sick face. Give me that sugar cane.
And what's the first thing we all say? It's because of all the sugar. Now, this is going to shock some people, but the truth is, it isn't because of the sugar. To be blunt about it, sugar has no effect on a child's behavior.
20 years ago, an American pediatrician tried to establish a definitive link between sugar and behavior in children. In addition to his own observational and double-blind studies, research after research could not find a link between sugar and misbehavior in otherwise healthy children.
This myth dates back to a study from the 70s, a study which has been pretty well contradicted by multiple other studies over the intervening decades. That's not to say that sugar is good for kids, but at least now you know it doesn't make them hyper.
Parents observe in their sugared-up kids might have to do with their surroundings.
Number 3, wait 30 minutes after eating to go swimming. As a kid, there was no longer 30 minutes in our lives than the time between eating a meal and our mother saying it was okay to get back in the pool.
But an old wise tale tells everyone they have to wait a half hour after eating to swim.
For a long time, it was believed that digesting your meal diverted blood to your gut and therefore away from your arms and legs. And the thinking was that this could cause one to tire out faster in the pool, with potentially disastrous consequences.
That's not really true. Your body has more than enough blood to supply all of its, major organs and continue with all of its functions.
But while the concern came from a good place, we now know it has no basis in actual fact. Yes, diving back in right after eating might lead to a little stomach or muscle cramp, but that's pretty much the worst that will happen.
You may end up with some stomach cramping or a muscle cramp, but this is not a dangerous activity to...
Number 2, you'll catch a cold in the cold. The confusion with this one probably comes from the fact that we named the coughing and sneezing sickness the same as the word for cooler temperature.
My grandma used to say if you would come from outside sweating and go inside to the AC that you would catch a cold.
Do you believe her?
I believed her and my mom.
How about now?
I'm still not sure.
But while the two colds will always have a connection via their nomenclature, they actually have very little in common as far as any kind of cause and effect. Despite what we've been told our whole lives, going out in the cold doesn't make you sick.
Responsibility for the infection itself is a virus.
In fact, there's been more and more research showing the positive health benefits of cold showers and cold exposure.
Recent research regarding exposure to mild cold stress, temperatures ranging between roughly 10 to 18 degrees Celsius, reveals there may be greater health benefits associated with exercising in the cold.
So maybe you'll want to present some of those papers to your mother the next time she tells you not to go outside because you'll catch a cold. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into settings and switch on your notifications. Number 1, 8 cups of water. Before we get into why drinking 8 cups a day is a myth, let's take a quick look at where it came from. A 1945 recommendation by the Food and Nutrition Board of the National Research Council does suggest 8 cups. But those 8 cups include all of the water ingested from both beverages and food.
When we see recommendations which say you should drink 1 or 2 litres of water a day, it's important to remember that that includes all the water that comes in food and indeed the water that we get in drinks other than pure water.
Also, the amount of water one requires to stay hydrated is dependent on the individual. Their age, sex, level of physical activity, these are all factors that need to be taken into account.
As long as you have free access to water and you drink when you're thirsty, you'll be fine.
But don't worry, if you drink more than necessary, there's no negative effect from drinking more water, except maybe a few extra bathroom breaks throughout the day.
The best way to tell if you're getting enough water in your system is the color of your urine.
It should be very light color. If it's starting to get dark yellow, that means you're not drinking enough.
There might not be any scientific evidence to back it up, but we're pretty sure that leaving a comment on this video is good for your health. Or at least it's better for your health than doing a juice cleanse, right? So, let us know what you think below.
When you go buy juice or you pay for a juice cleanse, what are you really getting for your money? Because
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.